Welcome to the Westeros Media Podcast, Lessons from the Ashes. We are here to tell the Phoenix Rising stories, coming up from the ashes to build businesses, to build personal brands, to parent, coming out, all of it. The stories of those who came from nothing and did great things. We all have a Phoenix Rising story, and I can't wait to hear yours. Join me every week for new podcast episodes. And of course, make sure you follow the show so that you never miss an episode. See you soon.
Hello and welcome back to Lessons from the Ashes, a Westeros Media podcast. I am so excited for a brand new guest who is new to the Westeros Media world and here to talk to us a little bit about human design and her stories. So, Betsy, welcome. I am so glad you're here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm excited. We connected on Instagram a little while ago, and I've been waiting for this conversation because I've been really curious about human design. And also I just, some of these things, they really baffle me. Like I was talking to the Wild Sky Sisters last week and all of the stuff that they do, I'm like, very cool. I don't really understand it, but this is why I love to talk to people who know it, because then I just get to learn about it. And it's really, really cool. And I'm a little selfish, but that's okay. So the
on behalf of us all.
I know, right? It's my podcast. I get to do it. So the theme of the podcast is Lessons from the Ashes. So we always talk first about a story, a time, something when you came from burning it all down, rising from the ashes. And of course, everybody has multiples of these stories. So I would love to hear one of yours, and no, you don't have to be fully risen to tell the story because we're all in different stages of this. So please.
Will we ever get to fully risen? I don't know. I don't know if I believe there's a there.
I don't know either. So would you tell us some of your story?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Hey, listeners, I'm Betsy Batista, and I work with human design and EFT. And I've been doing this work since 2018, and I love it so much. I'm so passionate about it, and I've had the pleasure of working with hundreds of clients from all over the world and teaching, and it's just a real joy to talk about this today with you. So yeah, I think we do all have multiples, and I love that you acknowledge that, because one of the things that you get from the context of, well, astrology especially, but human design too, is that we go through these life cycles, these like maturation points in our design where we'll go through a cycle of disruption, and it's really about leveling up into the next stage of our own personal and spiritual evolution. But a lot of times that comes with challenge and things falling apart. And then it's through how we grow through that we reach the next stage and the next level of being more of who we are, and our life becoming more authentic each time. And so we kind of go through this every decade from the time we hit like 30 until we're like 70, 80, which is super fun. So anyway, my very first big one that I had was actually at 28, right at the time of my Saturn return. And I was diagnosed with cancer 4 months after having my first child. And it's a weird thing to come face to face with your mortality when you're 28. You don't think that that's something that you're going to have to do. And it really, the way that I was navigating that situation and the choices that I made were non-traditional, I'll say. I kind of chose a unique path of like combining holistic and also allopathic roots to my own healing, and playing a lot with diet and different types of medicine, and also like self-hypnosis and biofeedback and the power of the mind. And I really played with all kinds of things. And it's really weird because I actually joke looking back that I think I was actually healthier when I was like going through chemo and had cancer than I was before, or maybe even have been since, to be honest. But it's because I was being so deliberate about how I was showing up, and because I had to be. It was like literally life or death to do it. And I was looking at my 4-month-old in the face, like, I'm not going to miss out on her whole life. I won't do it. It wasn't even an option. But that was actually the life experience that brought me to human design. And it's interesting. I'm actually in the midst of another kind of Phoenix rising moment in my life right now. My whole life kind of, I heard that this happened for a lot of people in 2023, that like this was a year where like a lot of things fell apart for a lot of people. So hey, if that's you too, you're not alone. But yeah, my whole life kind of fell apart at the beginning of the year, and I've had to pivot quite a bit, but I already in just, like 8, 9 months feel more authentically myself than I have in my entire life. And I know there's probably just more of that to come. So yeah, it's a journey.
Such a journey.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit like that first Phoenix Rising when you got this diagnosis and you had like a little baby? Like what you say, yeah, I did all of these things. Like how did you first panic and then start researching? Like
Oh,
you made it sound
absolutely.
very elegant. I'd love to
Oh,
hear
it
some
was.
more
I
of.
had no struggle. Everything was great through the whole process. Nothing was wrong. No. And I think that's the problem when we talk about things retrospectively after I've been on the other side of it for like a decade now, right?
Yeah.
So I can talk about it like that now, but no, it was full of angst, and it was full of there was a lot of fear. There was an fear of making the wrong choices. And
Mhm.
I think this is one of those areas where human design in particular is, I've found, so applicable for people in their lives. Is it really, even the very foundational level of it introduces you to how you're uniquely designed to make decisions. And when I look back at that time where I was diagnosed, it was like I had a lot of decisions to make about,
Yeah.
what was I going to do? What treatment plan was I going to follow? Where was I going to get treatment? Which doctors was I going to trust? How was I going to eat? How was I going to live? How was I going to work? I mean, these are like, it's the minutia of our day-to-day life. We're making choices constantly, right? And I think that a lot of the agony that people feel when they're going through a big disruption is like, God, what do I do? And how do I know if I'm making the right choice? And what happens if I make the wrong one? And
Yeah.
we're in tune with ourselves and we can just kind of do the next right thing. I think that's the key when we're in the midst of a big life shakeup, is like, don't think about what's going to happen a week, a month, a year from now. Do the next right thing. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, focusing on the next right choice. And at some point, you're going to look back 100 choices down the line and be like, oh my God, look how far I've come. I didn't even notice that I walked that far, but here we are, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. And I think like when a big thing happens, like a diagnosis, then it like slaps us in the face. But really, every day we're making these decisions that are going to lead us somewhere, right? Whether that, leads us in a good path, a bad path, not that there's good and bad, but every single thing that we do leads us in one of these directions. I've been thinking about that so much lately, like how, like I'm just obsessed with like habits and how those shape your life,
Yeah.
because those are like the things you do every single day. Those are the real things. Like people are always like, I have this huge goal. I'm like, cool, but what do you do every day? And they're like, that doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, but it does.
It
Like
really
the
does.
every single things and the things you do every single day are, those are the big things. And oh, just hearing about that. So was there stuff that you changed in your like life and diet that you still do? Or was it just like a get through this period and then back to normal programming?
That's such a good question. I was really intensive about it while I was in treatment,
Mm-hmm.
for obvious reasons. And I changed everything. It was like I had a regular spiritual practice. I mean, I went completely like swung the pendulum all the way the other way. I went vegan. I went, all the things. And then I found that actually that wasn't fully healthy for me either. And I started adding back in some more animal, like I adjusted as I went. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was saying, like, and I guess now that I look back on it, I was following my human design strategy by responding to each thing. It was like I would do something and then something would happen and I would respond, and, at each step along the way. And then after I was in remission and declared cured and whatever, I mean, I think I definitely slowly backslid. It was like, okay, give me all the things that I've been like restricted from eating for this long, or, and slowly my spiritual practice kind of, it wasn't every day, it was every few days. And then it was once a week, and, it kind of tapered off. And that's actually something that I've grappled with a lot in the years since, is like, a lot of times it's when we're under the wire and when we're kind of pushed up against a wall that we're forced into making these big life changes that are really transformative. And then how do we maintain the things that we learn in the long term. And I don't always think that's so easy. And I've heard, I know you've been documenting like a training journey on your Instagram and things like that. I have a friend who like entered a bodybuilding competition a number of years ago, and she was like very regimented about what she was eating and her exercise routine and, you know, all the things. And then she got to her goal, and then it all just went away. And I've heard her kind of talking about that too on her platforms of like, man, I felt so good when I was doing these things when I had this goal, right? And now that I don't have the goal anymore, I'm not as disciplined about it, or I'm not as intentional about it. And so that's actually a topic I've been thinking about a lot myself too, is like, how do we carry forward the things we learned from those experiences and translate them into what's a regular practice, and how maybe I don't need to be as intense about it as I was in the fires, as it were, but how do I still keep the things that I learned and that were good for me in maybe a more moderate way? I don't know.
Oh, I really like that, because I think about it now, like when I was in the midst of like breaking down my marriage and rebuilding our family and like getting divorced, and like I had to learn everything again. Like I got married when I was like practically a baby. So I had to like learn how to like do money on my own and do a house on my own and like parent on my own and change all of this stuff while my kids were still growing and I was still changing and it was coming out. So like every single thing I was like, do I actually like this? Do I not? Like everything, like food, clothes, everything. And I felt like so many things were changing. And then as soon as I got kind of quote unquote past it, all of a sudden I was like, oh, so like, am I fixed now? Like, is everything good now? Like,
right?
can I
Did
just
I
like,
arrive?
can I just sit back and then all of the things I wanted didn't fall in my lap, and I got actually kind of pissed off. And then I almost had like another little rebirth where I had to be like, oh, wait, okay, so I did the hard thing, but that doesn't mean I'm off the hook for the rest of my life. And then I had to like get back into what was happening. And now I'm like starting to pick those things again, like what actually matters. And it's been really hard and like quite an intense thing that I've just been like, okay, so I really, really loved how much drive and how much energy I had during that time, but it's not sustainable. Like
Yes.
I was in like crisis mode a lot, right?
Right.
And now like trying to like access some of that drive without like putting myself into peril. It's hard because you almost get addicted to the drama of it.
Yeah, and the adrenaline rush, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting as you're talking, because I'm thinking about the comparison between like what I went through when I was 28 and what I'm going through now a decade later, right? And I mean, back then, like I said, it was a life or death health situation. Like I did what I did because if I didn't, I was literally not going to be here anymore to make any additional choices. Like that was what I had to do. And what's interesting about the part of my life that I'm in now, and, you know, I'm at a moment in my life where like similar to what you just described, you know, I've come out this year and I'm in the process of getting divorced, and my whole like work and career changed at the beginning of the year, where the role that I had been in for the last like 5 years, I moved on from that and I pivoted into, instead of this, you know, business of my own being this like side hustle, now I'm putting all my attention and energy into it. And it literally was like everything. But now it's like, these are choices I'm making. Like my back's not up against a wall where it's like, if I don't do this, I'm going to physically die. I'm like, every choice I'm making is bringing me more towards being my authentic self. And I'm choosing those things every single day. And in a weird way, there's almost like more stress and pressure when you're choosing it for yourself, because there's like a deliberate, like I'm choosing to relearn. I could have chosen to stay over there. So could you. You could have chosen, if you had wanted, to stay in the life that you were in indefinitely and just gone through the paces and played the role you were given and gotten to some endpoint that would have marked success, but you wouldn't have been you, right? And at some point you chose yourself. And it's hard to choose yourself. It's a different kind of crisis. And then when you get out of that initial, like, oh my God, everything is burning around me, and you're kind of looking around and like surveying the damage, you're like, okay, how do I rebuild this now into something that feels more like me? And there's absolutely that part of like, oh, I just want to be through the hard bit and get to the part where like everything is fine now, you know, like, can I just skip this part? I think Kelly Clarkson has a song about, can I just skip this part from her like divorce album? And I'm like, I resonate with that so hard, you know, but it's literally through And it's funny because in the human design chart, and we can get more into this later, but like it's a system of archetypes. So like struggle in the human design chart, the purpose of it, of struggle and challenge, is about teaching us what's really meaningful and what we're willing to fight for. And yeah. And we're kind of in one of those moments collectively. Like if you look around, all of the, from COVID to the like global, you know, disruption politically and, you know, between just everything. When we look at challenge on this kind of a scale, it puts things into perspective for you real quick about like what matters. I think COVID was one of those collective moments where we were like, oh, I thought I cared about these 10 things, but actually I just want to be able to hug my loved ones. I just want to have my health. I just want to be able to like go outside and send my kids to school. You know, like it really shows you like, oh, these are the things that are actually meaningful to me. And these are the things that when I know they matter and have a value on them, that I'm willing to stand up and fight for them. And we're all kind of being put in that position. And we go through those cycles in our personal lives too, of like, you know, when you see what's really meaningful about being fully yourself, being fully self-expressed, receiving the kind of love that you want to receive, being the person that you know you are, where like that integrates your insides and your outsides. Like, you know, that's a whole journey of teaching you like what really matters and being willing to stand up and fight for it. And it's through that challenge of figuring it out, of having to relearn everything and relearn who you are in the context of this new reality, that then again, like you get through it into the other side and you look back and you're like, wow, that was really hard, but that was so worth it. Right? Like ideally at the end, you say that was so worth it.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. And also, like the end point shifts too. Like I think about that now, like the thing that got me through wanting to burn down my life was like, someday I'm going to have like this, like a love like Taylor Swift sings about, you know, or Taylor Swift herself, either or. I will take either.
If you're listening, Taylor.
She's slightly occupied at the moment. It won't last. Don't worry. Reputation's coming out. It's fine. It's fine. So many people are going to come at me about that.
They are. Oh no.
I don't even care.
It's a divisive topic amongst
right. So, but like my whole goal was to like find that partner and have that love. And now that's not my goal at all anymore. I'm like, oh, the love I was looking for was me, which sounds so cliche, but it is.
So true.
Like, I don't like, I'm like dating. I'm happily in my single hot girl era and like really enjoying it. But I am not like desperately looking for somebody to complete me. And it's so interesting because I thought when I was like in like the hardest part, I was like, that was the only thing I could look at. It was like this huge storm around me and it was the guiding North Star and it was the only thing I could look at. And now that I'm through that hard part, I'm like, oh, that's not actually like, if that happens, great. But if it doesn't, I still got what I wanted, but better. And it's such a cool thing to like figure out.
And you know what? I've talked to so many people, again, because this is the context of the journey I'm personally on right now. I've talked to so many people about like that being the greatest gift of the coming out journey, if that's a journey you're on, is falling in love with yourself, maybe for the first time. Like coming to really love, be able to love and accept who you are and feel what it feels like for other people to love and accept the true you. And, you know, maybe it is cliche, but some cliches exist for a reason, you know, right? It's like at the end of the day, like your core relationship beyond all relationships is with yourself.
Yeah.
Like the day you're born till the day you are, till the day you die. Well, you've got yourself, and other people come in and out in different contexts. And, you know, you have long relationships and short relationships, but you've got you forever. And it's like, what's your relationship with yourself?
Yeah. And I think so many people skip past it. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Or they want someone else to fix them. And I'm like, no, dude, like I want to be happy on my own. And like, when people are like, oh, I want someone who needs me. I'm like, I want the opposite. Maybe it's because I have so many kids, but I'm like, I want someone
you got plenty of people who need you already.
Right? I want someone who just wants me. I want someone who's just like, hey, I saw a funny thing and I thought of you. Or, hey, do you want to come over to my house? Or, you know, like I want just like someone who's like, they're fine on their own. They're not going to fucking lose their shit if I say, no, I'm tired, you know, but it's so interesting how things change like that, because I thought for sure, I was like, I need someone who completes me.
Yeah.
You know, I need all of these things. Yeah, it's true.
It's what we're taught relationships are. But there's a real power in that, of someone being like, you know what, I don't actually need you. If you weren't here, I'd be okay. But
Yeah.
I want you around. You make my life better because you're
Yeah.
there. I don't want
Yeah.
to have you. There's power in that. And sometimes
Right?
people think it's less than. They're like, no, if someone doesn't really need you, then it's not real
No.
love. And it's like, actually, that sounds like codependency to me a
Yeah,
little
that
bit.
sounds terrible. It's like chocolate cake. I don't need it to survive, but oh my God, my life is better because of chocolate
Are you
cake.
sure? I don't know. Chocolate cake is pretty good.
Okay, so I don't lie to my children often, but I did tell them that if you don't eat enough cake, then your period won't come and your period will be late. So we have to eat enough cake because I was
These are the
so
times
grouchy
when I
with
can get behind.
PMS, right?
It's not gonna like lead them astray in life. I just want my cake. Like, just let me.
It's a little bit science because your period can be late if you're stressed out. So I'm just going on the pseudoscience, but like literally my kids are like, we should make a cake. Mom's really grumpy. I'm like, right? And they're like, okay, like let's get a cake so that mom can get through this part and back to happy mom. I'm like, yes, let's do it.
Boy, I've ever heard. I might
right?
have to take this one.
I mean, I might write a parenting book based on making cake. I don't know.
I think you should publish in a scientific journal, personally.
I think it's science. It
It's
for sure is science. Absolutely. Okay, so we've like touched on human design a little bit, but so I really, because I put out on my Instagram, I was like, I want to talk to somebody about human design. And then I got connected with you to talk about it. And so like the reason I did that is because I like looked into it briefly, and then I saw that my type, that's what we call them, right, is a projector, which if you look at it, it's kind of like, it's funny because I'm a projector and a Libra, because to me they like herald the same in that like everyone's like, oh my God, like roll your eyes at this shit. So it's like, so I'm like, it like when you look at the projector thing, the big like generalizations are like, oh, they need lots of naps and they like, you know, like can't work like other people. And that made me so angry at first because I was like, no, like I am a boss bitch. I want to like get shit done. Yeah. And then I looked a little more and I was like, okay, so maybe there's other things about it. But can you just like recap a little bit of like the human design stuff, and also like, why does it matter?
Yeah, totally. So for anyone who hasn't heard of human design before, and I think it's grown in awareness and popularity over the last few years. It's like all of a sudden people like all started talking about human design. But if you have heard of what it is, it essentially combines 5 different esoteric systems into one kind of overarching umbrella. It's like a personality assessment, kind of like, you know, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, like any of those that helps you kind of get to know your true self better. But it integrates a bunch of different ancient systems to do so. So it synthesizes Western astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, and quantum physics. And if I had a visual on me, I could show you how all those things integrate. But essentially, those are all different systems of archetypes that will essentially give you an energy blueprint for how you're designed to function. What are your energy needs? What are the kind of themes that you might live or play out in your life? Their life purpose. You can find life purpose in the chart, relationally, energy dynamics in relationships. I've found human design to be really, really helpful in the context of family dynamics, to be totally honest. It can really point out the areas where maybe we were conditioned to be a certain way that was inauthentic for us, and then to support us in deconditioning so that we can be more of who we are. And so at the foundational level of human design, the very kind of first layer that I teach and that people often come across, similar to like in astrology, they'll say, what's your sun sign, right? In human design, it's what's your type. And so you mentioned that you're a projector. I am a generator. There are 5 types in the human design system. I think that where people get into trouble with any of these systems, whether it's astrology, Enneagram, human design, is a couple of different places. Number one, when you look at it and you're like, there is this like prescriptive, you know, description, and you paint like a sweeping thing with a broad brush and overgeneralize, and it's like, now you're telling people, you're basically putting people in another box when the system is essentially supposed to break you out of the box and help you understand your uniqueness and how you are uniquely designed to function. So, you know, the things you mentioned about like, oh, projectors are always tired and don't have any energy and they can't work this way or that way. It's like, there's nothing about your design that should ever tell you you can't do anything. Like, every type, every person, no matter what their configuration, can live the fullest, biggest life possible. There's nothing you can't do. It's just that when you understand, if you're trying to live outside of the way your energy is naturally designed to function, you're going to push too far. You're going to burn out. You're going to be, trying to be somebody you're not. And so the chart is essentially supposed to be here as almost this guide to help you back to yourself, so to speak. So like, I'm very frequently talking to projectors and kind of dispelling this myth that like you don't have any energy as a projector by nature. And it's like, it's not true. It's just that your energy functions differently than maybe the way society tells us you're supposed to, which is hustle, 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 do all the time, never sleep. Like if you're not up trying to make something happen, you're lazy and a loser, and no one is designed to work and function like that. Like, honestly, and I think you're hearing a lot more about that in kind of cultural circles now, of people being like, guys, we need to stop with this whole hustle culture thing because it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And I think projectors a lot of times are kind of at the forefront of that because your body won't let you. Like at a certain point, a lot of projectors, when they're in their like late 30s, early 40s, if you haven't figured out sustainable cycles of your energy, you're going to hit a massive cycle of burnout. You just are, because with the nature of how your energy functions, you can't sustain something like that. And then you have to heal from the burnout and rebuild again to figure out, okay, how do I build my life sustainably? So you can be a badass boss bitch as a projector. And actually, I would say that that's an excellent description because projectors are here to guide and manage others. The whole role of a projector is you understand on a deep innate level how life can function, like the highest potential for humanity and other people around you. I'm guessing as a coach that when you work with people, you can see things about other people and the structures of their life and how they function that maybe they can't see in themselves. And so as they invite you to guide them, and that's the key for projectors, is you need to be invited to share your wisdom in order to have the impact you want to make. But when you're invited to share your wisdom, you are able to support people in optimizing and living into the fullest potential of their life. That sounds pretty boss bitch to me. You know what I mean?
That does. Yeah. I will take
It's
that
just
on.
that like maybe you're not designed to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to sleep at midnight every night and be hustling from the time you wake up until the time you go to sleep. Like the whole thing about projector energy is you just need to find sustainable cycles that work for you, times to take breaks, times to take a rest. So you're not pushing all the time. And that's it. It's going to look different for different people. I have actually found a lot of my projector friends and clients do really well as entrepreneurs because they can make their own schedule. They can set their own time frames. They don't have anyone telling them they have to be in the office from this time to this time. And I know a lot of projectors who actually like get up at like 9 o'clock and they take like an hour and a half to like do their yoga and their meditation and work out. And they start their workday at like 10:30 and they work until 2:30 or 3, but they get more done in those like 4 hours than someone who's working an 8 to 6 in an office. They're like, just watch me. Like when my energy is aligned and when I'm feeling vital and energized, I am efficient. I've got this. Like, I don't need an 8-hour workday. I can do someone else's 8-hour workday in a 4-hour workday and then go enjoy my life. And frankly, that sounds better to me. You know what I mean?
I have noticed that like when I'm tired, I am so inefficient. Like it's like I am way better. If I have 3 hours and I'm tired, I am better off to go do literally anything else for 2 of those hours. And then I'll get more done in that 1 hour than if I would have just pushed through for those like 3 hours.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So your type, in the human design system, one of the biggest gifts of it is that it teaches you what your decision-making strategy is. And again, it's that kind of magic key of like each little choice builds on the other one to really influence the direction of your life, So if you know how you're aligned to make decisions, it can just really help guide you along the best path possible. And I think that that's actually where, for me, this latest cycle of disruption has gotten me even deeper in touch with my human design, because as a generator, I'm designed to respond on like a gut level to the world around me and to allow that gut knowing to guide my decisions and not like appear from my head. And, it's like, I feel like the gut knowing about, my sexuality at the beginning of this year, it was like, oh, I thought I knew what it felt like to really know something in my gut. But now I think I actually really know how my like sacral gut knowing functions on like a level that I never knew it before. Like, I can't unknow what I know now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it actually got me back in touch on a deeper level with my own sacral gut knowing and my own strategy. And I now, on a much deeper level, understand what it feels like to be responding out in the world to what's right for me. And I think that happens for people as they get in touch with human design. It's like you start on the path and you start learning about things, and some things are going to resonate with you and some things aren't. And as you go and you start seeing all of the ways that you're like, oh my God, wait, the person that I always thought I was, it was always okay to be that person. There were gifts involved with being that person. All the ways that I thought or was told I shouldn't be certain ways are actually like the gifts of my life. Wait a second, this is revolutionary. And you start like letting go of those beliefs that you inherited that told you shouldn't be who you are. And you start getting in touch with how you make decisions. And this is multi-layered, right? Because it's a complex system because it integrates all these different layers. Type is just one of them. But the deeper you go into it and the more time you start working with it, and then you start seeing how these different themes are playing out in a tangible way in your life, because you have to take it from being conceptual into your lived experience, or else it just is this, you know, ideological thing. But I have found human design to be the most applicable system that I've worked with. And I've done my astrology, I've done my Enneagram, I've done my Strengths Finder. You know, I think we all have this deep desire on some level to really know ourselves, you know, and to know who and how we're designed to function in the world. And so this is just one of those tools, but I've found it to be a really effective one. So.
Oh, I really like that. And when you were talking about like knowing yourself and then being able to like listen to your body, I think that's so much of something that I learned too with coming out, is because I was pretending on so many levels. Like my core thing I had to fake, you know, or change or mask. And so everything on top of that, every layer on top of that of like my personality or my choices wasn't quite right because the core wasn't quite right. So then it's when I had to peel part of that off. I think that's when you come out, you feel so discombobulated because all the other things, it's like you took the bottom layer of your Lego castle out and all of the pieces fell and you're like, oh my God, now what? But now I feel like I understand myself so much better. Like I never understood how people talked about like just knowing in your gut. I was like, what is that? Like the only thing I feel in my body is severe anxiety. And now I don't have any anxiety.
Which can be confused for gut knowing.
Yeah. But like I used to suffer with like crippling anxiety and I don't anymore, like at all.
Oh.
And I like know things and I don't doubt myself as much. And I only want to be around people who are like, if I'm tired and I'm with someone and I can't say, I liked this, but I'm going to go now. Like people who are offended, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sure you're nice, but we can't be friends because I have to be able to be honest.
Yes.
You know?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's hard because people are so used to people pleasing and, you know, like fitting into something that when they actually start being themselves, it's terrifying. So whether it's like coming out or your human design, like if you find out you're a projector and you're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this, you know, invitation to be able to like just rest when I need to. And you start telling people and then you're like, oh my God, but I can't say that to people. Like, what if people find out? You know, like that's what I felt at first. I was like, what if people know that I want to have a nap instead of talk to them? What will they think of me?
You know, but it's funny. You know, Brene Brown talks about how the opposite of belonging is fitting in.
Yeah.
And yet we're all hardwired to want that love and connection and to belong. And so like, why do you think we abandon ourselves from such a young age? It's like, oh, if I think these parts of myself are unacceptable to my parents or my loved ones, I'm going to lose that love and connection if I show up as who I am. So I'm just going to shove all those things down here and develop a personality that's acceptable to everyone around me and develop behaviors and make decisions that are in alignment with what I'm being told I should do to receive belonging and acceptance. And that mask is heavy. It's really heavy. And at a certain point, you got to put it down or you're going to kind of be forced to put it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Things might fall apart that would kind of force that mask off, right? And it feels really scary at first because the fear is losing that love and belonging. It's like, oh my God, what if people knew that I, this, that, the other thing? And there's 1,000 reasons and 1,000 ways that we internalize messaging that we shouldn't be who you are. Right. And I think especially for people who like come out later in life, there's a whole process of like, why didn't I just let myself be who I was for so long? And an unpacking of like, you know, where did that messaging come from? Where did I internalize that this wasn't okay? Or why didn't I trust myself sooner? Or, you know, this, that, the other. And ideally at a certain point, that piece that you're talking about kind of takes the place of the anxiety of just being who you are. And it becomes a like, okay, I'm just going to have a grace and love and compassion for myself and all of the people that I was and all the things that I had to do to feel like I could survive and belong and be accepted and have community and connection. And I'm going to celebrate myself for the courage to start telling the truth, you know, because it takes courage every single time.
Oh yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
And ideally over time, it becomes less of an effort to say the thing. It's like, it doesn't catch in your throat quite as long before it falls out of your mouth.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that there's people don't talk about the grief, I think, that comes with the journey of discovering yourself. And again, whether, like you said, it's a coming out journey or it's a discovering who you are. I mean, when I first looked at my human design chart and I saw like the purpose markers there and all these things that I could hear the voices in my head that had told me for so long that this quality that was being reflected back to me from my design was bad. And the language that was used about it, the judgmental language that had been used about it, and then hearing the gift of that quality reflected. I mean, I cried through this entire workshop that I took when I first learned about my chart, because I was like, oh my God, I'm not bad. I'm not wrong. Like, this was all just some other misunderstanding and misinterpretation that someone else tried to hand me, but there was never anything wrong with me. And that's something that I hear so often from clients is like, I feel like you just gave me a permission slip to be myself. And as a coach and a guide, like that's one of the greatest things anyone could ever say to me, because I think the more we give ourselves permission to be who we are, then we're bringing our gifts to the world. Then we are, as they say in spiritual circles, right? It's like you shine your light, you give other people permission to do the same. It's like we're lighting up the world, right? We're the torch bearers being like, it's okay to be who you are, you know? But yeah, getting rid of all that internalized conditioning about how we should or shouldn't be, it's a tricky process. And there's grief involved, and there's courage involved, and a whole bunch of other things. And it's a journey. It's very much a journey.
Yeah, there is so much grief. And I think also like one of the things in mine was like, I'm an experimenter. I'm using these words wrong, I'm sure, but
I want to see your chart so bad. I'm like,
oh, I should have sent it to you before this.
We can do a whole nother podcast episode and just like
good.
deconstruct your chart if you want.
I would love that. Just in front of everyone, tell me all the things about me.
Sometimes it helps people to be like, what does this look like in the real world? And it's like,
yeah. Okay, well, we'll do a part 2 for anybody who is listening. Okay, so, but one of the things is like about being an experimenter and like trying things out. And I've always like my absolute life motto is fuck around and find out. Like that's always been how I feel. And I went through this grief, especially with the coming out. And then I was like, why did I had this part of the process where I thought, if I would have just known sooner, then I would have saved all of this heartbreak for all of these other people. And then I was like, well, no, actually, because then I never would have had my kids. And like people say, marry your best friend. And that's what I did. Like I a little bit misunderstood because, you know, there was other things. But I like last night, our son's teacher emailed, we were having family supper anyways. And we just like, we sat and we workshopped it. We talked it through with him and like did this whole big parenting thing in the moment. And that was like the thing I thought we were going to miss. And I was like, oh, we're still doing it. Like we just had to remap it for ourselves. Yeah. And he's still my best friend. And I still like, he gets me. And so I actually don't have any regrets about it. And then sometimes I'm like, should I feel bad that I don't regret it? And then also I'm like, no, because we all like so many things could have happened, right? I didn't like have an affair and break our trust or any of that shit. I just was like, oh, hey, late memo on the sitch.
PSA. Public service announcement.
Yeah.
This just in. Breaking
Yeah.
news.
This just in
Yeah.
via COVID and TikTok.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And I think that a lot of people, especially when they're trying to like figure stuff out about themselves and they like dip a toe in and then they're like, oh, never mind.
Yes.
But then you can't stop thinking about it. So you have to go back, right? It's like,
it's the thing that won't leave you alone.
yeah.
And usually when there's a thing that won't leave you alone, there's some truth in there for you to pay attention.
Yeah.
You know, did you ever see the movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow?
No.
So Sliding Doors is this movie that showcases Gwyneth Paltrow's character, and it literally shows you like two different plot lines. One that is initiated by her making a train, and one with this small little thing of if she missed the subway, she bumped into someone on the way, and when she got there, the doors had closed and she missed the train. And this movie literally follows her life with these two different plot lines of what happens if she gets on the train and what happens if she misses it. And her life diverges in such a crazy way because her character, when she makes the train, ends up getting home at a time and discovering that her husband is having an affair.
Mm.
And that changes her whole life, right? But when she missed the train, she never walked in on them, right? So then you see how, and I just love this as an analogy because I think we do this to ourselves all the time. We're like, oh man, I wish I had just like a crystal ball that would show me if I made this decision, my life would go this way. And if I made this decision, it would go that way. And then I can make an informed choice and make sure that I'm like doing the best thing for me, right? Well, I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's from like the 90s. So if you haven't seen Sliding Doors, I'm going to spoil it for you now. Skip ahead a minute if you don't want it spoiled. What's so amazing about that movie, though, is that one way or another, her character kind of ends up in the same place. She just takes a different route to get there.
Yeah.
And I kind of have chills right now because I think that what's been getting me through and has gotten me through a lot of those kind of burning everything down, rising from the ashes moments is like really that reminder of like, what's for you is for you. Like, you're not going to miss your destiny. If you're meant to have a certain experience, if you're meant to be a certain person or do a certain thing, you can't mess it up. Like, you can choose a different path to get there, like choose your own adventure, right? But the ending is going to be the same. And because this is your journey, like this is what you came here. And so, you know, I think that that's helpful sometimes also in the context of like, God, I'm so worried I'm making all the wrong choices, or I have all this regret. Like if I had just done it this way, I would have ended up over there. And it's like, no, you made the choices that you made for a reason. And your life turned out along this path the way it did now. And here you are. And if you weren't here, you wouldn't have had these 10 things. And I've been kind of in a process lately of just like choosing not to regret, you know, because I think I had a lot of regret for a long time of like, similar to what you said, of I would have hurt fewer people, or, you know, this would have happened or that would have been easier. But it's like, you don't know that. You would have just had, maybe you would have just had different hardships because that's life. You know, you would have had different hardships along your journey and you would have had different plot points now, but you'd still be you and you'd still be on whatever this path of life that you're on is. And so it's just about the next right thing again.
Yes, right? It keeps coming back to that. But I really like what you're talking about, like getting to the same place. Like you can't miss what's for you. I think so many people feel this like panic that like they missed it, or life is going too like, you know, they're too old, or they're too, or like they're too drowning in children, or they're too this or that or the other thing, you know. But I get that. Like when my kids were little, like I had so many babies, like I couldn't even see. Like I was looking back and I was like, I don't change any diapers anymore. And I used to change like, I don't know, 30 a day. Like poop and diapers was a very big part of my life. And now it's just
50% of your time.
Right? But like when I see young, like people with younger kids now, and people used to always say to me like, oh, cherish this time, blah, blah, blah. Like all this like bullshit. And I wanted to be like, punch that Karen right in the face.
You cherish it. You come over to my house and change all the diapers and you cherish it.
Yeah, I hated that. But now I'm like, whenever I see them and I feel like it's not like a shitty time to talk, I'm always like, you're going to survive this.
Yeah.
You know, like,
okay.
And I like some people say, oh, I miss the baby stage so much. I don't at all. Oh my God. That was so hard. It was so hard. And now I get to like know their personalities and like learn about them, and they teach me things. And I'm like, this shit's where it's at. Like, just, I know I'm being naive because I haven't reached teenager yet, and people are going to be like, just you wait, but just let me enjoy
People
it.
still do that to me.
Yeah.
One of my oldest is 9.5, and people are like, just wait till you get to the teenager stage. I'm like, thank you. I will wait. I appreciate you trying to like skip ahead to that stage though.
Yeah. Right. But I think it's so cool. Like, I have like a lot of like, am I going to fuck my kids up? I know everybody has that, but especially because I'm like, I don't want to like impart things on them that they're going to have to like rediscover about themselves in their 30s. But also I'm like, well, I'm only just doing the best I can. Like, how am I supposed to manage that? I'm always like, be yourself, but like, also like fight against, the man, but also like listen to your teacher. Like, oh my God,
right?
it's so much.
You know what made me feel better about that recently is every new generation inherits literally a different world than you had when you were growing up. So like when you were being raised, there were all these things that you look back and you're like, I'm going to change all these things for my kids, right? And then you do to a certain extent. And look, we end up passing down some of the stuff we inherited, even if it's just a little bit, because it's what we know and we do our best and whatever. But then the reason that there's always a disparity and kind of a butting heads between parents and children is because they're like 10 steps ahead of whatever world we were living in when we were growing up. So there's literally a new set of circumstances that they're being raised in, and a new idea. I mean, God, when we were growing up, the gender spectrum and the spectrum of sexuality and all of the, like the things that were like culturally acceptable when we were growing up are like horrifying to look back and watch now. And we didn't think anything of it.
No.
When it was happening, we were like, that's normal.
Yeah.
And now we look back and we're like, how did that person just say that on television like it was nothing? Like, imagine what was happening behind closed doors if they were talking like that in public, right? But that was the norm back then. And so we had to evolve ourselves past that point. But now our kids are going to evolve into the next level. And so, of course, they're going to butt heads with us at a certain point because we're back over here. We're like, look at all this progress we made for you. We're trying to get over there.
Yeah.
And that's how it's supposed to be. So I'm like, you know what? I don't understand the context of everything that they're going to be evolving through, because our generation had our own journey of evolution. And then we're like passing the baton. And there is a certain extent to which we're not going to be able to understand everything that's theirs to do, the same way our parents couldn't understand us half the time,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that made me feel better. I was like, well, there's only so far we can take them anyway, or we can can do with the limitations of our own consciousness compared to theirs, because they're literally growing up in a different time and a different cultural zeitgeist,
Yo, and it's so different. Like, I even think like, I thank God there was no cell phones when I was a teenager. Like,
oh my God.
I don't even know.
That's the thing I regret for them. I'm like, I wish we could just like take away the technology for your childhoods.
Right. Like my son already, he's 9 and he's like, everyone has a phone except for me. I'm like, okay. And that shall continue.
Thank you for also holding out. My children also do not. And
oh my God.
I will die on this hill.
Oh my God, me too. I'm like, no, you're not getting
I'm holding out as long as I possibly can. I'm like,
yeah. Oh, I know. My daughter's 7. She wants her own YouTube channel. I said, not, absolutely not. Never. No. I'm like, when you're 18, you give her a baby.
Make
She's
your
like,
own
you're
choices.
mean. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I am mean.
Now my daughter, when I'm 18 and get my own cell phone, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm like, great. When you're 18, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I know. I will say too, human design has been hugely helpful for me in terms of knowing my kids' energy design. And I've heard so many other parents say this as well, because, your kids are different humans, like they each have their own needs. They each have their own. And I think as they get older, you really starts to shine, right? Like their distinct personalities and their distinct, ways of functioning and interests and how their energy flows. But I remember actually I did a whole like family consultation for somebody who has like 6 kids, and I did a whole thing for like her and her partner and then each of their children. And she literally changed the configuration of how her kids sleep because of like their energy needs and which other person would allow them to like get the best rest, or, instead of pushing this kid to always be coming with to the family activities, and why aren't you participating? maybe if they say they need to stay home and be by themselves and have some space for a little while, maybe I can honor that. Or, in small ways, it's like really helping understand where some of these needs are coming from, because a lot of times we're only looking at it from our perspective or from how our energy functions. And if we're like, oh, I function this way, but my kid functions that way. And if I can support them in their emotional needs or their energetic needs or, whatever else, it's like, it's a really cool thing to look at, like family dynamics around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I just know like the main types for my kids, but I'm like the two younger are both two girls, and they're both Nanny Jens, and they're just like constant. Oh my God, their room is a disaster every day because they're always making crafts and then starting another craft and doing another thing. Blah, 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 blah. And then my son, it's always a mess. And then my son is a projector, and me and him are like in bed with tea and like being quiet.
Oh my God. It's so quintessential.
It's so funny though. And just like letting them, I'm like, okay, like when my son says he's almost never sick, but there'll be mornings he wakes up and he's like, I can't. And he will, like, he's like, I will not go to school. You cannot make me. And I used to fight to the death with him about it. I'm like, you're not sick, you're going to school. And now I'm like, oh, he just needs a day. And by halfway through the day, he's like, okay. I'm like, right 100%. Back at it. And I'm like, oh, you needed a rest. Huh. How revolutionary that you needed a fucking day off. Like,
we don't do that in this house. No days off.
Right?
No for the wicked.
But the girls don't ever ask for that.
Yeah, they have different needs. It's really wild on such a basic level. And I mean, once you start getting into the layers of it, it's really, really fascinating about how all those things weave together. Like, I always tell people, like, start with your type and strategy and then move into like the centers. The centers of the chart relate to the chakras, and whether they're open or defined in your chart will tell you about like the unique way you run that type of energy. And whether you're like taking in energy around from your environment and being influenced by that, or whether your energy functions on an internal level in a specific way with that type of energy. And that's a place where people get a lot out of like, oh, I was always called the drama queen in my house and told I was so hyper emotional, but actually I had an open emotional center and I was super empathic, and I was just amping up all the emotional energy in my house and mirroring back to my family how wildly emotional they were being. And so I was called the drama queen, but really I'm just an empath. And so like that mindset shift around like, oh, this is how I function, and somehow how I was judged or labeled was never true about me. And again, these are just ways we start to like shed that conditioning, right? And then, so I tell people like type and strategy, then look at your centers, and then go into your profile, which starts telling you about like the qualities and characteristics that you walk through life with and what makes you feel safe and your style of making change and learning and things like that. Like when you were talking about, I'm an experimenter, and my motto is fuck around and find out. I'm like, I bet I know what your profile line is based on that information alone. Because it's like there are some people who learn and gain their wisdom from experience, and there are some people who learn and gain their wisdom from like books and learning, and two very different styles, but you both kind of, like, and when you know that about yourself, if you were raised in a family that like criticized you for failing or making mistakes all the time, but like the way that you're meant to learn is through trying it and seeing first, and then what you learn and moving on and taking that into the next thing. But you're so afraid to make a mistake that you won't try anything. You're like going against your nature, So like, it's all these little ways, again, they all just kind of layer on each other. And then we get into purpose and all the like little gates and channels and all the nitty gritty details. And it's all just fun. I could talk about it forever, but I think that if people like dip their toe in and start learning about this part and then that part, and it all just kind of paints a bigger picture of some of the ways that you're designed to function. And it's really cool to see. So
I love that. Okay, so I always ask at the very end of podcasts, if there is somebody who's in the ashes right now, like shit's not working, or they're about to light the match, is there a piece of advice based on like what you do that you can give them of like, if you had to hand them a lifeline, what would it be?
I think that sometimes when we're in that part of it, especially when things feel really hard or like you're in that crisis moment, like you talked about, everything, like feel like we all end up having those moments where you just like shake your fist at the sky and you're like, why? Like, what is the point of any of this? And like, why does it have to be so hard? And I think that one of the reasons that I love astrology and I love human design is it helps to give people context for these moments. Like there is a bigger picture. Like this is a moment of your life and it feels like everything right now because you're in the thick of it and like you can't see the forest through the trees when you're in it. And I sometimes think it's not going to be till any of us are like 85 and we look back on our whole life and we're like, now I see why like this happened and it led to this, and it was like we don't have context for the full journey of our life right now, but I think especially my clients who come to me in a big life disruption, who are really in it and like in a massive life cycle of disruption or whatever, like talking about the themes of this time and, what you're meant to learn through it and why this might be happening and how you can continue to come back to yourself through it and let go of some of the shame, the blame, the regret, and just to be like, okay, this is a really hard moment. Mm-hmm. And I know that I'm going to understand it better on the other side, but I won't necessarily right now. And so, kind of like I said at the beginning, it's like, just do the next right thing. Like, know how through your connection to your deepest, truest knowing, find a way in this process to trust yourself so that you can know that each decision, this little decision that you make is going to build on the next one and the next one and the next one. And you're going to come out the other side of it. And one day you're going to look back with perspective, but just to know that like, this is just one moment in your life and you're going to have context for it later, but it matters and you matter. And as much as you can stay in touch with yourself and trust that like, it's your journey and it's happening for a reason. Although sometimes that can come off as like really spiritually bypassy and I don't like that either. You know what I mean? It's like it's all happening for a reason and it's all going to be okay at the end. And you're like, I hate you. I hate you. This is hard right now. And none of this is for a reason. It's all futile. Obviously I've been there a time or two, but like, yeah, I think it's just remembering that this is a moment in the greater context of your life. And if there is a tool like human design or like astrology, or if there are people that you have in your life that can like continually reflect you back to you in the highest way possible of like, you've got this, just keep going. Like, to give you context for this moment so that you know that it's not just arbitrary, that you're not living through this hardship for no reason. It can really, really help. I think the context helps and just focusing on doing that next right thing. Like you don't have to know what's going to happen. Just keep doing the next right thing.
I love that. Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
That's my pleasure.
I'm gonna email you a link so we can do this again because I think that we need a part 2. But if people want to find out more about you and what is you do, or even about like, if they're like, what is human design? How do I find that? Can you let them know how to contact you and how to find out who they are slightly?
Yes. How to find out. Well, let me tell you who you are. No. So you can go to my website, first and foremost, betsybatista.com. There is actually a place on my website where you can run your human design chart. If you're like, all right, what is this? And what does my chart look like? There's a link in the top navigation to run your chart and it'll pop up some cool descriptors. I also have like a free report you can download as like an introduction to human design from there. So these are all free resources that you can start with. If you are the kind of person who kind of likes to study about these things and you're like, I kind of want to know, or like just dip my toe in and understand the basics, I do have like a self-study course that you can get that goes into type, centers, and profile, which are like the 3 places that I recommend people start. And it will give you in generalities about anything. So what's cool about a general class is then like, you can run charts for yourself and for your kids and for your parents and for your partner and for your friends. And like, you're getting all the information. So then you can just kind of apply it to everybody and be like, oh my God, my mom is like this. And that's why I've been this way my whole life. So if you want to blame your parents for everything, just go take this class. Just kidding. Half kidding. So there's that. And then if you're like, I want to know about my chart, and I really am the kind of person who wants to dive into the deep end and understand some more of those details and have a person who can contextualize all this for me, you can always book a reading with me as well. And we'll take a look at your chart personally, and we can go bit by bit and do a technical thing, or we can talk about life purpose. If you're in a massive cycle of disruption yourself and you're like, I want some of that context, what is going on in my design? What does any of this mean? We can talk about that. I've had a surprisingly large number of people coming to me and who didn't know they were in the midst of a big life cycle in their chart. And we got to talk through that in the session. So those are some of the resources I'd recommend. You can go to my website, run your chart, download the free report. You can dive in on kind of the self-study end with the class, or you can book a reading and we can get personal with it and dive into all the details if you want. And you can also find me on Instagram at Betsy Batista Official, and I post some things there about the transits, and also sometimes my thoughts that I'm responding to related to human design in the world, and just another place you can find me.
Awesome. And I will make sure that those links are in the show notes. But thank you so much. This has been amazing. I loved getting to know you more and chatting about all these things. And I can't wait. Make sure that you stick around. We will have round 2 probably in a little bit. So I am excited, and thank you so much. And as always, make sure you share this podcast with a friend, especially anybody who is going through it right now and needs a little help and love. And I can't wait to see you next week on Lessons from the Ashes, a West Rose.
Hey, I'm Stephanie Rose, and I am the host of the West Rose Media podcast, Lessons from the Ashes. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on Threads and on TikTok and all the places. My handle is at West Rose Media. Check out my website too. There are so many resources for people just like you, people who are climbing out of the ashes, ready to make a new life. I got you, babe. Make sure you follow along. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you never miss an episode, and I can keep doing the magic. I can't wait to keep going. Let's get into it.